Hello and welcome back to the Educated Colin Snap channel. How you doing? Yes, I got a haircut, but that's not that important. We're going to be talking today about some niche but strong decks that I wanted to kind of showcase and address and just say, hey, these are something you can play. I know everyone is like pretty much heard of the meta tier list, and there were some decks I didn't put in there, not because I thought they were bad, but I just thought they weren't part of the meta to put in a tier list. Like, even if the deck was good or strong, if no one played the deck, it wouldn't make sense in the meta tier list where you're showcasing meta stuff. So I just wanted to just kind of talk about some of those type of decks I thought were strong, could be played, but just didn't have enough presence to put in a meta tier list. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you find something cool. Let's begin. So first thing, the first two decks I do have are content creator decks, but they are strong. But because not a lot of people are playing these particular decks, right? It's hard to say, oh yeah, Raven's deck is really good. But first one I do want to talk about is the Raven deck. He calls the Raven special. I'm not really going to change his name. But essentially, it is a stature list with some cool tech cards, where you get to run the Moon Knight. You get to run the Ghost Rider, which is really strong. And you have the Shuri with the stature combo, right? Stature can very easily be a 1-cost card. With Shuri, that's 14 power. If you use Black Bull, that's 16 power. So just a really powerful deck that can mess with your opponents with the Moon Knight and the Black Bolt, and you just have really good tools to work with. Spider Woman is an underrated card just because there's a lot of cards to play on 5, but if and on full board, it's 12 power base. It's really, really good. So there's definitely a lot of tools here that you can take advantage of. I thought it was a really efficient list. I wanted to shout it out here. Next up we have is another content creator deck, Dara JN's deck, the Master Mode deck. I did kind of put this list in the meta tier list, but it really felt like I was like sneaking it in, not really showcasing this on its own. It's not really a Darkhawk list. You really can do a lot more cleaner lists if you're basing your deck off Darkhawk. But if you have Master Mode, then this is definitely one of the lists to take advantage of, right? You have a lot of synergies with the Ronan, with the Darkhawk, with just general power of the deck list, and it runs a lot of good cards, right? You have Dr. Doom, which I'm a huge fan of. Killmonger has a nice tech card, and then the Mystique synergizes very well with the Ronin and or the Darkhawk, and it's just a very nice control list that has a lot of good pieces to win, or ways to win, right? There's a lot of directions you can take a game with this list to win it. And the nice thing about this is he did play a tournament with this particular list, so you can kind of see how a good player would pilot the list, how they're thinking about matchups, that kind of thing. I believe it's the Infinity Gauntlet tournament if you want to take a look at that. So definitely a strong list, a little bit niche because not a lot of people have Master Mode. But if you do have it, you want to play something that can take advantage of, well, this is the list to build. Next set of decks are really just ongoing specific. This was a archetype I maybe should have put in the meta tier list, just because there's so much things you can do with ongoing, and I do think if I would make it that list again, or if I do the next tier list, probably ongoing would make the cut. But there was a couple of specific ongoing lists I did want to talk about here. First one being Wong Ongoing. So this one just takes advantage of Wong and Spectrum to really pop off in the final turns and really just buff all your cards. So it's just a really nice, powerful ongoing if you can hit the pieces. Obviously, every Wong deck has some weaknesses with Cosmo and honestly a lot of Wong counters, to be fair, but definitely think in the right scenarios you can do a lot. And even in the scenarios where your Wong does get like moved to another lane, Spectrum itself in this list is just really powerful, and you don't necessarily need the Wong combo to win. It's just a really nice finisher if you can get those pieces together. So definitely think this list is pretty strong and has ways to win. Next up, we have Destroyer Ongoing. So this is like a different set of ongoing, just instead of fully focusing on the Spectrum and the Wong combo, now you add the Destroyer. This is a very, I would say, popular early Series 3 deck because you don't need too many Series 3 cards besides Destroyer to kind of make this work. So a lot of times, if Destroyer is one of your early Series 3 cards, this is the type of deck you can commonly see being run, and it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of good tools in there, and you have that flexibility of multiple win conditions. So definitely thought this made sense, and it's something I probably should have put in the meta tier list, but I didn't. But definitely a strong build. Atuma's in there. A lot of people love that card. And then another set which also has Atuma. This one's definitely a little bit more expensive than the previous list, right? We're using significantly more Series 3 cards. But here, this is more of a control list than an ongoing list. You have the Daredevil, you have the Professor X. You're now able to just work and lock down a location for the Destroyer more consistently than the previous list. And you have the Zero synergy for the Atuma, for the Red Skull, for the Lizard if you feel like it. It's almost like a Shuri list in sense with the Zero synergy, but it just has a little bit of a different win condition than the Taskmaster. Instead, you're having the Destroyer to be your final piece. So this is just a nice little deck that you can build. Has a lot of tools to work for, and I think it is pretty good. And then next up, I really did not know what to call this particular list, right? In essence, you could say it's a DoomWave list, but it actually is just a lot of different like strategies kind of fused into one. It definitely gives me vibes of the Modok OTK that I posted recently with the Psylocke into Sera into Wave strategy. But you can definitely do a lot with this. And as I was looking through some of the deck builds, this one really caught my eye because there's so much in it that you can work through, right? You have that Sera synergy. You've got the Dr. Doom into Odin synergy if you want to do that. You've got the Doom Wave synergy. You've got the She-Hulk Wave synergy. You've got the Yondu into the Death with the Killmonger. So if you're into that matchup, you could do that synergy. Of course, we're running Shang-Chi. Of course, we're running Arrow. And then Scorpion's just a really good 2-drop. So it has a lot of like powerful tools in this deck list. And you're really going to have to balance how you want to pilot every single deck. It's definitely the type of deck I like to play because there's a lot of different strategies going on in every single game. It's not one dimensional and like, oh, you have to win with Dr. Doom Odin, or you have to win with Wave into Death or something like that. There's definitely so many ways you can really pilot the deck list. And of course, we're running the Shang-Chi to give us that consistency into a lot of the matchups. So definitely like this list. Don't know if it has a name yet, but it was definitely really cool. And I thought it's something I wanted to showcase. And then the last one we have is just an Agatha list. So I don't really showcase Agatha lists because I definitely think they're hard to make work, and you could do better generally. But I figured I'll add an Agatha list here. I thought this one wasn't too bad. Usually the Agatha list most people want to discard the Agatha as quick as possible and then play the game out normally. This one's a little bit different. You're running that consistency with the Quicksilver Domino, but then you have a ton of a little bit other things to do. You've got the Dracula to really be like your win condition, and you're kind of hoping for something like Dracula into the Agatha on 6, and then your Dracula pulls something big. So you get 2 bombs on the final turn, and hopefully you've played like Captain Marvel, or hopefully you've played something. The Ebony Maw is pretty ingenious in that it can't be played right after turn 3. So you're thinking, oh, why Ebony Maw is in there? It wants to be a dead draw. You don't want to play this, right? So you can play your more consistent cards. So you can play your Cosmo. So you can play your Captain Marvel. I thought it was like a cool idea, and definitely something you could try. I don't recommend this. I'm not saying, hey, this deck is going to win you every game, but I thought it was a cool deck, and some people just love playing Agatha, so this is something you can try, see if it resonates with you. But overall, I just wanted to showcase some of the decks I thought could have made the tier list or like strong enough, but just weren't popular enough or so to really just say, oh, this is part of the meta. So hopefully there's going to be some changes very soon on the 18th. I'm hoping that does a lot of good things for the meta and a lot of good things for the matchmaking. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out the Modark OTK list. I definitely spent too much time on that one. So take care of yourselves. Have a nice, wonderful rest of your day. See y'all.
Educated calling snap. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you to marvel snap. Your skills will be improving. How you doing?